Getting her to notice you've changed is actually easy. In fact, it's the one thing she needs to begin to repair the relationship with you. Using this one skill to convince her, it leads to more trust, emotional safety, and honestly, a deepened and renewed love. So, if that ability is the one thing you need to win her back, why do so many men fail to master it? For when you do master it by watching to the end of the video today, she will see you as the hero and the embodiment of the divine masculine energy again. That man that she just looks up to with a softened smile, melting into you with her loving presence. Today, I'm gonna show you 4 psychological secrets to influence your wife of your changes, so she can begin to become curious and attracted toward you again. Now, not being able to show her your changes it's like having an emotional bank account, right? Where you have lost so much money over the years from overdrafting arguments and indebted promises you couldn't keep. But now you are depositing so much money through your emotional deposits of care and consistency, but she's only focusing on the debt that's still sitting there. So I'm gonna teach you how to deposit massive checks. I'm talking trust fund checks of reconciliation. And the first step of this will be to have a deeper understanding of how her mind actually works. I call it empathetic trust. Now let's face the fact here. She is judging you on your track history and not how you are right now, at least at first. We have to use some extreme empathy here. Of course she doesn't trust your changes, man. I mean, dude, you've only started the change, right? Even if it's been a few months, look how much other history she has to leverage against how you've been for the past couple months or weeks. All right, let's go over a story example of how this can really play out. Imagine for a second you had a coworker or employee who always showed up late. They made constant mistakes and you were held accountable for them. You tell him over and over that if he doesn't fix this, you're gonna get fired too. So he swears to you the next time it won't happen. Then a few weeks go by, nothing happens, and then it does happen again. Eventually your frustration would turn into resentment and just downright disgust with this guy. But you'd probably be resigned to it until one day your boss pulls you in and says, I'm thinking about letting Jared go, but what do you think? You know Jared needs the job, so you go to talk to him and tell him, hey, look man, he's gonna let you go and I can decide whether you stay or not. Jared starts to swear he'll come to work early and he's just been going through a lot of things recently, it'll improve. How much would you trust Jared? Of course you wouldn't, right? This is how your wife feels. Sit with that for a second and put yourself in her shoes. This empathy for your wife in the situation is so important and it gives you another insight into really how she is. And this all starts with the perspective shifting. Now let's use a personal story with myself and my partner, right, that we had years ago when we first met and started dating. When I met her, I still had Instagram women that I didn't know that were attractive that I followed. I wasn't even aware that I was following them. She actually pointed it out to me. Now I'm not proud that I was following these women. I actually started following them 10 years prior when I first got Instagram. But that's also the problem because that was my go-to response when she brought it up. I was like, I didn't even know I was following them. I don't see them on my feed, all this stuff. I was being defensive, which only made it worse. Side note, she could have approached me differently in a more calm and supportive way, but that was her work, not mine. Regardless, in my defensiveness, I really felt to consider just how from her perspective, how it made her feel and what it meant to her. Because to her, looking back on this now, she felt insecure that if I could follow these other women on Instagram, then what would stop me from following other women in public and giving them attention there? Now to me, I would never cheat. I would never even do that. But it doesn't matter what it is to me. What matters is what she felt and what it means to her. You see the difference? So as an exercise, I want you to do something similar. Look back at a recent situation and how you guys fought or whatever it was, or she was upset, and ask yourself a series of questions. Number 1, what was her deepest and truest emotion underneath the emotion that she was showing you? Was it fear? Was it pain? Was it anxiety? Number 2, what need was being compromised for her in that moment? Was it safety, autonomy, connection, respect? Number 3, what would you do differently if you could replay that event? How would you show up differently? Now, recognizing this perspective shift, it is everything when it comes to changing your results with her. From there, let's give you an immediate unknown shift you can make to get her to start to notice the changes in you. And I call it the little things are actually big. Let's look at the top reel on the Instagram page with over 5 million views.
My husband cracked the damn code on me. He got home from overtime yesterday and he was like, I'm starving. I'm gonna order Mexican food. What do you want? And I was like, I just ate with the baby. I'm not hungry. I don't need anything. Promise, I'm good. I'm fine. I said, I'm fine. 20 minutes later, DoorDash shows up and his food, of course, smells delicious and the regret sits in my soul. This is how I know I have a soulmate, because the first thing he pulls out of that bag was a burrito, not for him, for me.
The top comment says he knew what was necessary to protect his own food. You know how women often say it's the little things that matter the most? This is an example of that. He said, Josh, I asked him, I said, what was the straw that broke the marriage's back? And he's like, I stopped getting her favorite snack at the grocery store that I used to always get. And she said for her, that was the last straw. Because a lot of guys will get confused because they think it's some grand thing that's like, well, I didn't cheat on her, I didn't do this. But at the end of the day, those little micro behaviors tell a larger story about how much you actually care about her, right? If you're not following me, by the way, follow me. But anyways, why do so many women resonate with that message? I pretty much said it all in that reel, but look, man, like the little things you do to her, it speaks more to your character, right? So think back at all the things that you've done, these little things that she's complaining about, and you're like, but it's such a small deal because you're failing to see what that action in yourself says about you. I remember one of my best friends of all time, I was living in for multiple years, another entrepreneur, and he lived with a Navy SEAL. And he told me, Josh, when I was, because his sister was married to a Navy SEAL, and he's like, dude, this guy changed my life living with a Navy SEAL for multiple years, because when I first met him, I was this young 20 kid, and I was just like living on the couch, and he would tell me just like clean up these crumbs or like, fold my clothes better. And it was like, what the hell? Like, why are you trying to manage my life? These things don't matter. And thankfully, my friend also carried that characteristic over to myself when I lived with him, right? Like of being mindful of these little things, because Harv T. Eker says, how you do anything is how you do everything. So let me give you some examples of how these little things actually matter a big deal. A man forgetting to bring home his wife's favorite coffee on a busy morning speaks to his lack of attentiveness to her daily preferences and needs. A man not cleaning up after himself in the kitchen after she had a long day reveals a lack of consideration and empathy, suggesting he doesn't have a full grasp on the shared responsibilities. Number 3, barely talking to her on a work trip. That just speaks to how much you actually don't think about her. Number 4, a man not following through on a promise to fix something in the house points to a lack of accountability and responsibility, which can erode trust over time. A man failing to compliment her when she puts effort into her appearance speaks to a lack of appreciation and attentiveness, making her feel undervalued and unnoticed in the relationship. A man not listening actively when she's talking about something important to her demonstrates a lack of presence and emotional availability, making her feel like her thoughts and her feelings just aren't valued. On this channel, I want you guys to start taking action. So right now in the comments down below, say one thing you're gonna start doing differently. Something small, whether it's just cleaning up around the house more, making your bed in the morning, coming home on time, whatever it is, commit down below that you're gonna start doing something different. And the 4th concept is called Wu Wei. Now, before I get into this most powerful shift that is my absolute favorite in shifting guys' perspectives, I want to let you know that if you do want to take actually different action and you need support doing so, you can set up a free call with our team down below, our evaluation team. On that call, we'll tell you exactly the roadmap and how to get your wife back and how you got to where you are. Make sure you are fully committed and ready to invest yourself into saving the marriage. If that is you, click the link down below in the description. You'll see an application page. You can fill it out, set up a call sometime this week. Okay, so this is gonna get a little esoteric. As you know, sometimes I do get esoteric. I was watching a podcast. It was a philosophical podcast on what actually reality was. They had a Buddhist on, they had this like neuroscientist on, they had an astrophysicist, and they were all discussing it. And the host actually gave a powerful analogy with a cup like this. So I don't know if you can see that well, but here's the cup. And he said, when it comes to different religions, Scientology, atheist, agnostic, whatever it is, what's actually happening, their definition of what reality, what God is like this. So this is what actual God is. It is, yes, God is just cup, if you didn't know. And Christians see God like this, right? They can see all that. They can't see the opening. Islam sees it this way, right? Mormons see it this way. Buddhists, there is no cup. No, I'm just kidding. If you're Buddhist, you understand that. But the point is that whatever reality is, it is subjective. Now, this is hard for a lot of people who are materialists and empiricists, so sorry about that, but that is my perspective as well. So you're asking yourself, okay, Josh, cool. How does this relate to my wife? Well, all your results with her come down to perspective, how you internally feel about yourself, how you talk to yourself, right? Because then how you talk to yourself and how you feel will dictate how you are acting with her day by day. Because it is not the things that she's doing to you that define who you are as a man. It is your response. Everyone deals with a difficult woman, right? You know this, right? Like there's no hiding it. There's no magical perfect woman that gives a guy perfect peace all the time. No, that doesn't exist. So what separates you from the guy that keeps his wife happy over the years? Well, it starts with the perspective shift. His internal beliefs are different than yours. All external results with her stem from how you internally feel and how you speak to yourself. Thereby, by shifting your perspective, you shift your reality. And there is a future reality where you two are together. I know that for certain. And to get there, it all comes with the idea of what outcome release is. Wu Wei is also outcome release. Look, she knows that you need her back. There is this empty hole inside of you. You feel less than without her. You've put your internal worth into another human being. When I say this, I've been there so many times. And I'm still learning this with my partner. Like I'm still making these mistakes myself, okay? So that's totally okay, but like I'm telling you right now, let's both figure this out, okay? I'm a lot better than I used to be. I could teach guys, right, who are struggling with it, but everyone succumbs to this over time, and that's okay because you're here now and you're ready to grow and learn from it. This feeling of this hole, it can never be faked, okay? And she will never come back until you release the idea of needing her. So the question remains, how do we do this? Well, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite Zen poems by Alan Watts to start. He's talking about the Tao, or the way, or what reality that cup is, okay? By not being able to get it, you get it. When you speak, it is silent. When you are silent, it speaks. The great Tao flows everywhere, to the left and to the right. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. When listening to that poem, the answer to getting her back is it's a paradox, right? It's Wu Wei's the idea of sailing versus rowing, which means down life, you're on this river of life, and it's gonna take you, the wind's gonna blow, and you can fight against it and fight against the current and struggle and resist and cause pain and stress and grief and anxiety. And the more you fight, the harder it is. Or you can learn to row if things are happening to you, right? It's how you respond differently. Now let me give you an example with two men in the same situation and how one man can use the idea of Wu Wei and he can sail with the wind, or the guy that rows. So the first guy feels anxious. He needs to try with all of his will to find the right words to get his wife back. So therefore, he obsesses day and night to strategize and figure this out. And then all the while, the stress builds and builds, and he misses the lesson God is showing through his pain. Whereas the second man, he also feels anxious at first, but then he goes into his pain with the help of someone, and through his courage finds that he doesn't actually need his wife. In fact, he's not sure they are even best for each other. He sees things for how they are and trusts that God is more intelligent and has a greater plan for him than he is aware of. So he stops fighting and focuses on his journey of self-discovery and growth. And within the process, she comes back to him again. Let me tell you a secret. Your true self, who you actually are, it's always coming through. You cannot fake that, okay? But you can change it. And right now, if you're listening to me, you probably have the belief that where you are right now is because of you. You have full control over your life, your decisions, your actions, the way you can change things. It's you. But what holds guys back from getting them what they want is that need, right? It's like you have that healthy desire, but it comes from a place of I'm full and I want to add to life. I want to add to her. I want to give her value. I want to love her. I want to sacrifice. I want to be the man that is conscious and doesn't need to have, like, she feels that energy from you, okay? And ultimately, the guys that are able to transform this neediness and to let go, to learn how to sail with life and have her come on that boat and have a great journey with her again, they come down to the realization of who they really are, finding their eternal worth and their value. And that's ultimately what I want to help you with, that gift, if you allow me, okay? Cool. Thanks for watching the video. This is the most viewed video on the channel, by the way. It talks about the whole game plan on how to win your wife back by yourself. Check that out if you haven't seen it already. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.